Hello everyone, welcome to Fubble Games. We're going to do a recap and review of Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1, or as it's called, Chapter 9. So, the Mandalorian is looking for other members of his race, or creed, or grouping, because I believe some of the Mandalorians weren't actually the same race. They were just mostly somebody who grew up understanding the same creed. So they head to a Gramoran fighting ring. The boss, the underboss of whatever planet they were on was like, "Oh yes, I know where somebody is." So he lures Mando in. They basically get into an argument of, he asks him if he's going to Beskar armor on the fight. And then he decides, I'm going to show you how I stack the deck, and shoots one of the fighter who's winning. And then everybody spooks out, and him and about 5 or 7 guards. Mando's like, I'm not going to... I already stacked the deck. Baby Yoda hides in his little container. Mando kicks it away, and... he then shoots him with basically his guided missile darts. That takes out 5 of the guys. Then it's a hand-to-hand fight. He basically beats up on the other guards and then goes and takes the underboss and is like, hey, this is where we're... you're going to tell me where we're at? He basically hangs him up like a Batman villain from a light pole. Shoots out the light pole. The guy's like, it's on Tatooine. Yeah, there's another one on Tatooine. So, he then leaves him there, and there's like glowing red eyes all over, some sort of hound or wolf like creatures, and they leave that one ambiguous what happens to that guy. So we head back to Tatooine. Then Mando basically meets up with, I want to call her the quartermaster for the basically Mos Eisley. She's like trying to rush the droids out before, and then Mando's like, yeah, the Razor Crest needs a once over, and everybody's looking, and she looks at him like, well, okay, yeah, droids, go do your work. So there is a slight change in the Mando's mannerisms, that, he isn't as anti-droid as he used to be. Which could be a good thing, bad thing, we don't know yet. So he heads out, he's asking about a specific place, and he's like, she says, yeah, it's been basically removed off the map because it's not used, which is the... I can't even pronounce it. It's another Mos. Basically, they use Mos for any city on Tatooine. And so he takes her speeder bike and heads out into the wilderness of the wonderful Tatooine deserts. He meets up with some Tusken Raiders, and we find out that he can communicate with them and actually has good chats with them. So he keeps going out. So he meets the Marshal, who is basically wearing Boba Fett's armor. The only thing I didn't like about this character, I love the character, but it was basically the actor playing the same character he played on Justified. Except he didn't have a good foil. So, as they're discussing what it would take to get him to give up the armor, there's a tremor, and we find out that the crate dragons have been attacking, or a crate dragon has been attacking the city in the area. And so we see it basically going through the desert. It's a nice thing to finally see a crate dragon. They've, in Legends, they were always talked about as being these ferocious things, and they definitely showed up in Mandalorian as one. Then we get into the backstory of the Marshal. He shows us how he was saved by Jawas on a protection deal that went bad, and how he basically gave up something for Boba Fett's armor, which the Jawas had after they recovered it. So they go out, track down the Krayt Dragon, find out that the Tuskens also want to kill the Krayt Dragon, and everybody starts discussing it. They realize that they do a battlefield map, and both Mando and the Marshal are like, the icon for the Krayt Dragon isn't to scale, and the Tuskens are like, yes, it is. So they're like, okay, so, and then the Tuskens put down more people and more icons that represent the people, and Mando starts bartering with them, and they're like, okay. Marshal's like, how did we get more people? He's like, yeah, we just volunteered your village. So basically, then they head back and tell the villagers that, hey, if you want to stop the Krayt, we have to work with the Mando, or not the Mandos, with the Mandalorian, and then with the wonderful Tuskens. They're like, no, not gonna happen. The Marshal's like, yeah, it's gonna happen. Otherwise, the city's not gonna be around anymore. So they go to. This was one problem I had with the episode. So when they go to the basically armory, they show a couple shots around it, and there's nothing around it. So it kind of, you can tell it's kind of removed away from the city, and it's kind of off-putting because you're like, they're in a town, but they're not in a town. Maybe if they had put something in the backdrop, just like showing how far off this from the city or something like that, it would have been more understandable, and then, wouldn't look like it, oh, we could easily have raided this. So they set up emplacements and a couple traps. They summon out the Krayt Dragon. The dragon stomps them, shoots acid, melts a couple of them away. They use some emplacements. It kind of going not their way. Then, so they set off the explosives that they set off for, or set down to injure it. Sorry. And then the dragon's like, nope, that didn't faze me that much. Nope. So Mando tells the Marshal that he has to protect the child, and triggers his backpack. Mando then takes what they've loaded, a bantha with a whole bunch of bombs on it. So it's basically a bantha bomb, and attracts the Krayt Dragon. Unfortunately, the stake gets pulled out, and the bantha starts pulling away. Mando grabs it and pulls it back towards the Krayt, and they both get swallowed. Then there's a nice little montage of it bouncing around, trying to take out some more Tusken Raiders, and it comes up again from the ground, and we see Mando fly out using his Electro Lance, and then he sets off the explosion that blows up a nice third of the Krayt Dragon. The Tuskens and the settlers both, the Tuskens take a pearl and some of the meat. The villagers take some of the meat. Mando takes some of the meat. So a couple little points I had, and then Mando drives off on the speeder bike back towards Mos Eisley. In the off distance, we see the actor who played Jango Fett without armor. So we're possibly this being Boba. It might not be. It might be another clone. We don't know. But hopefully it's Boba. Couple things. I would love to see the Krayt Dragon outside of the sand, so we could just get a really good sense of the scale. I mean, we got a good sense, but just to see its form and stuff like that. And then Baby Yoda, when they get to the landing dock for Mos Eisley, he looks just too much like a toy when the quartermaster grabs him from Mando. All in all, it doesn't really set up anything. It has a couple. It's hard to gauge this episode. That's why I had to watch it twice. And even with the second episode, I'll get into that on my review of the second episode. It's really hard to give it a score. I mean, visually it's great. I mean, it's cinematography 101. I mean, it looks visually great. There was a good amount of physical effects and CGI effects. It really harkened back down to the first movies and the prequels, where there was still a lot of physical effects done and not the overblown CGI fest that was the third. The prequels had a lot of CGI, but a lot of times some of it was also physical effects. So I have to give it, I want to say a 68, 70, just because it was interesting but boring. It doesn't really push the narrative anywhere. It was like, it was a quest on a quest. Stop yawning. So basically it was a quest on a quest, and that's where we were. It was just like, we were really kind of seeing Hercules doing his trials. That's how I best want to describe it. But that's where we are. Episode 1, it was about 70, so it was in the good category, but it could have been better. If more storytelling, more something. Yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, there was storytelling, but it wasn't like, it didn't push the narrative. So that's where we're at. And that's where we'll be for at least until I get the rewatch episode 2 or chapter 10. All right. Thank you. Have a great day. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. I will be back with more videos on Sunday. Come on.